Hi, welcome to the award-winning Ed Brown Show. Hey, you remember last week we ran out of time. We had a gentleman back here, Mr. John Maxwell Group. That's what is it, Edward Reed? I should remember Edward Reed because Edwin Brown. You know what I mean? But anyway, Mr. Reed. Tell us about the John Maxwell organization, how you got involved with that. Now you're into finance, and this is the thing that I think we should be emphasizing with the young people.
Oh, sure, absolutely. It's a pleasure to be back with you today. And so I had joined the John Maxwell team because I wanted to see what could I learn from the man who is ranked the #1 leadership guru in the world. His organizations have trained millions of people in over 198 countries. And so I've always read his work, and those who I've mentored, I would often tell them, hey, look, these are some books that John Maxwell wrote, and you need to read these books, and we're going to sit down and talk about it. And then the opportunity came to me about a year ago to join the team. And I jumped all over it. One of the best decisions that I've ever made. And so I have a few degrees, and those are great. It's nice. But when I began to learn just some very practical wisdom that I could apply immediately. And so I also have a company that I started. It's called Academic Management Group.
Academic management. You know, in starting the program, we had a photo of the youngsters that are really from Bowie High School. And they have really shown a lot. That was shown before, and we're going to show that after. For the young people, we're going to mentor them into this economy with your company.
Well, and I tell you what, though, Mr. Brown, is that I have a real concern and a burning desire to reach back to that next generation.
Right.
And so when we looked at setting up this company, Academic Management Group, we looked at what are some of the needs that our young people have, not just in Maryland, but just throughout the world. And so I'll tell you some of the things that really concerned me was I looked at the high rate of kids who had started committing suicide. I look at the hopelessness, the despair that's just running rampant, not just in America, but in different countries.
The world.
Yeah, I got a business partner in Hong Kong. She tells me about some of the stress and anxiety that the young people are going through. Now, I don't know if I told you this one, but I'm also a former assistant principal. Assistant principal.
So you've had that on-hands experience.
I've had that on-hands experience. Great experience.
You can't beat it.
No, you can't beat experience. But remember, I'm also a reformed knucklehead. And so I thank God that I've been able to have his favor. And more importantly, I thank God that he's brought so many different people in my life that have mentored me.
Right.
And so when we look at the John Maxwell team, I'm also being mentored by 7 dynamic people as within this company. And so they're opening my thinking, they're opening up my eyes. I'm looking at things I didn't realize were possible. And so it's really transformed how I see opportunity because I work with people who are out there doing it, man. They're doing it. Right. And then there's a difference between people who read about it and those who are doing it.
Because mentoring is the key. And people that have had experience like you and other people that I've known, this is what they have to understand, is that we have to start mentoring the young people, programming, and especially finance.
Finance is really important because when we talk about finance, we're really talking about financial literacy. Right. And so one of the aspects within our company, we have enrichment programs. And so within our enrichment programs, one of those enrichment programs we have is that we teach financial literacy. And so you have a lot of young people say, I want to get out of school, I want to start a business.
Hey.
But they have to understand credit worthiness because anyone that's going to start a business, you're going to need some capital.
Right. Hey, that's the major part. That's the major part is capital. And these are the things that we have the capital to supply the youngsters with it, but we are not we're not working together with that capital. I had a meeting at Whitman's there today, and that's the thing that we talked about, is that the capital that our community have and not using. Now, here is a good example in this particular area on getting the capital. We have the capital. The most important and thing that you want to, people already know, is that what's the best way of collecting money or making money? You look at as far as we're concerned, the churches. The churches have the largest group of people with money. How many mega churches you have in this area? But it's no corporation as large as the church. None that we have. You know, there's no other business. They collect money every Sunday.
Faithfully.
Yeah, faithfully. And the thing about it is, why? Here you have an organization like that where people go every Sunday, sometimes 2 and 3 times a Sunday, and they're not in the economics of this country or in the economics of this Prince George County, because of the fact that they're not putting their money together. Most of the time, hey, you find organizations, even the government does it, the different credit unions. Yeah, what happens with that? Okay, if a church had a credit union, that means all that money that people are putting in church and all that, when they get ready to open a business, get involved in it, they go to the church to get the loan.
See, and when we talk about money, first we have to understand money is a tool.
Right.
Money is nothing to worship.
Right.
And a lot of people, they're in pursuit of money, and they think that money is going to change their happiness, is going to change their situation. And if you're not careful,
you got to know how to use it.
You got to know how to use it, and you got to know how to manage it. And you
it.
got to know how to protect it.
And protect it.
Because there's some other folks.
Don't forget the protected part, because most people don't know how to protect their money.
And understand it's going to get taxed.
Yeah, right.
And so, but one of the things, what we look at with our young people, that next generation. And so as we talk about money, and we operate that money is just a tool, is a resource.
Right.
And so within our company, what we look at with young people are going to take one or two roads. You know, either they're going to leave high school and go off to college, or they're going to leave high school, they're going to go into the military. And there's a third road. I said 2, I should have said 3. Or they're going to go out into the military. All right, because the 4th road is not an option. Doing nothing.
Nothing. And that doing nothing has resulted in the highest incarceration level of African Americans below 30 than anywhere in the world.
Right. And so we go back. So if we know at some point when a kid is about 18, 19, some 17, we know there's going to be a point where high school's done.
Right.
And so what's unfortunate is when at the state level, the minimum standard to graduate is not the minimum standard to go forward and to have more opportunities. So you can graduate, with straight D's.
Right.
1.0 GPA. And so what we look at, though, what is that setting you up for? So when we take our coaching model, what we do, Mr. Brown, in this coaching model, we look at our students, look at our clients, and just like you got a basketball coach who might be working with the person on how to shoot, you might have a person who's working on a position, or you got a person who's a baseball coach is going to help you with your swing. Or you got a football coach, you got an offensive person, you got a defense, quarterback. Right. But what we do, we work with the student in the academic arena, because we already know how to play the game. And so what we do, we love to take that kid that's in about 9th grade. We get them, and if we can work with that kid for 3 years, 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade, and we coach him. We have coaching sessions twice a month. twice a month, we're going to sit down and we're going to see what that kid's doing. We're going to coach that kid to maximize their potential. Now, what we're also doing is that we're going to be looking at unpacking their interests.
Hey,
because
that's very important.
Well, I tell you,
hey, 2/3 of them, they don't know what they're gonna major in when they get ready to go to college
Well, I
and
tell
get
you
out
what.
of high school. I don't know. You know, some of them pick it for academics or pick it for family associates or things like that.
Right, and so here's something. I was on a team call over the summer, and John Maxwell was taking some questions. So I asked him. I said, "Well, look, if you were working with a group of students, what words of wisdom would you want to give them? Or what would you give me? Because I'm getting ready to work with I got 50 student leaders that I'm going to be doing a project with. What words of wisdom would you give me?" He said, "Well, Ed," he said, "first thing you want to do is help them find their purpose, find out what they're passionate about, help them develop a purpose. Then the second thing you want to do, help them maximize their potential. And then the third thing you want to do is teach them to sow into others." So, and I look at that, and so if we can help our young people get a sense of who they are, because as I said last time, each child is a gift from God.
Right.
And if we can help these young people, unpack what God has already put inside them, all right, and we can help mend the brokenness that comes along with childhood when things aren't going quite the way you thought they should have gone, but we can't cry over spilled milk. Man, either we're going to go get some more milk or we're going to clean it up. But we're not going to sit around and cry because we don't got that kind of time.
Right.
And so then as we help that child discover their purpose. Now, one of the things we do in our company, we also have assessments. And so I have career assessments that kids do online. Ask them a series of different questions and they can go through. They can use their phone if they want to.
Is that right?
But they go through and it comes out with a really nice report and say, these are some areas that you should consider, for further pursuit that's most aligned with your personality. Because if you're trying to hit a target, but you don't know where that target is, you're just throwing stones in the dark. And we can't have that because you don't have that luxury of time. And so then what we look at, though, Mr. Brown, when we begin to work with these young people, we're starting to really work on their mindset. We start treating them like a young executive. And then the way we treat them is going to be the way they behave.
Right.
And then the way they begin to see themselves, and once they see themselves as we treat them, they will begin to walk into that path. And now what happens, you do that for a solid 3 years.
You're talking about the program
within our
3 years,
with our kids.
The 9th to the 12th
We work with them 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade. So by the time that kid gets in 12th grade, we're not sitting around saying, well, what we going to do? You're graduating from school next year.
Yeah, right.
No, we hit the game, man. We're not excited to be in the game. We're excited to go win the game. See, what happens, kids go to school, they start high school. Some of them just so excited because they're there at the school. Then there's some other kids who get excited because they get a chance to say, hey, look, I'm about to get going,
Well, that's where the peer pressure comes in.
The peer pressure.
And that's something you have to handle, too, because John Jones don't want to do nothing because this is not accepted with his group. His group is doing some other things, like illegal things.
That's right.
You see what I mean? And they are wearing the best clothing and the best style, everything. And here I am in school trying to get involved in my future.
Great. And here's the beauty of it. Another arm of our company is educational consulting. And so when we look at the organization, the schoolhouse, one of the things we have to look at is how do we go in, work with the school students, the staff, the leadership, the parents, and really begin to talk about a cultural transformation within that school, where the culture of the school, there's an expectation that we all are going to be highly successful.
Right.
I tell you, when I was assistant principal at some of these high schools in Montgomery County, now I was just looking at a report just yesterday, and I was looking at some of the schools, top 100 schools, and then I looked at the top 20 schools in Maryland, and I looked at some of these schools, and I thought about, well, what is a common theme amongst these 20 schools? And most of them were in Montgomery County and Howard County.
Right.
And I said,
Unfortunately,
fortunately or unfortunately, it depends where you are. But what happens, the theme is, what is the culture of the school? What's the mindset? So we got to go back to the mindset as well. We got to be able to ignite a culture within a school where the culture is success, breeds success, but there's hope.
And that's why I always emphasize the point that the individual, that peer pressure is so great, in which you have to overcome if you're trying to get a program like you talking about started. Because those physical things, you know, they attract young people, you know, like the right sneakers and the different jackets and things like that, that their peers, that's something you have to get over. And that's a tough thing. See?
Well, let me ask you this question, Mr. Brown. When we look at these young people, right, where do they spend a lot of their time?
On the basketball court, on music.
Right? And where else? Where else do you think? Where else do you see them heads and you see them faces?
Well, shopping center.
Shopping center? And when you go in the shopping center,
right?
You ever see some heads looking down at something?
Yes. They have the latest radio.
Right?
Or
phones,
the latest
right?
phone. Yeah,
so
cell phone.
Them cell phones.
They're the latest cell phone.
Now here's the beauty.
And the cell phone is not, most of it is not teaching them anything.
That's right.
It's for recreation.
Now let me ask you this question. Not to get too religious on you, but sometimes I once read about one of the sharpest people in the world. He went to where the people were in order to help them. All right? He went to where the people were. And so with our company and our business model, we go where the people are.
Yeah.
And that's on the screen. On the screen.
Right.
On the phone. And so we provide our coaching. We could go through, we could do iPhones with FaceTime, we could do Skype, we could do teleconference coaching.
Excellent.
All right. And so what we did, instead of, because of that peer pressure piece,
right,
we know that trying to pull a group of kids in or making a kid come over to my office, you know, sometimes there's that pressure. And sometimes, for some families, they don't have the flexibility to drive across town. Like we over here, I have an office out in Poolsville, Maryland. But if you're out here in Bowie, Maryland, you're not. Most folks not gonna make the drive to come over to that office.
Right.
That's a drive. All right.
At least an hour.
Yeah. Now watch this though. If all your kid has to do is dial our dedicated number,
convenience,
punch in a code, and a coach that's working with them, whatever coach has been assigned to work with that kid, they're there. And so we say your coaching session is going to start at 4:30. Here's your number. Here's your coach. And that coach is going to work with you. And that you have that coach for that particular school year. So you could be in the car. And here's the beauty of it, is that after the session, the coach will send the email to the kid and copy the parent and said, here's a copy of our coaching session. Here's the audio of our coaching session.
Beautiful.
Because what we tell the parents and the kids, the clients, is that the only notes we want you to take are the thoughts that come to you. But don't try to write down everything I'm saying to you, all right? Or what you're saying back to me.
Right.
Because I want you present in the moment.
Right.
But if you get a thought from the outside, that's one you better write down. And so what happens is that once again, we're changing mindsets and changing habits. But we're meeting the kids where they are.
beautiful.
And that's part of our model.
Well, that's an excellent thing, because and what that does, what I like about it, it eliminates peer pressure. In other words, they don't have to have Johnny Jones or Mary or somebody around. They can access the system on something that they're really interested in. They're interested in that iPhone or that computer, and that is a positive thing. I think it revolutionized homework.
Well, I'm telling you, this is what we're trying to do, because when I look around and I look at the people, that next generation.
Yeah.
And I tell you this too, and God bless those teachers, those administrators, those school counselors. But when we look at the sheer numbers of kids who need individualized assistance, there's just not enough. You got one principal, maybe if you're a big high school, maybe you got 4 or 5
but that
assistant
answers
principals.
that problem. You know what I mean?
That's it.
Actually the cell phone and having programs at
Easy access.
Easy access. You be 90 miles in the country or either around the corner. You still can have access to that information, which is critical.
And that's it. And if you're in another country, we can Skype with you. and you know, and the other piece too, sometimes folks feel more comfortable exposing their weaknesses when they don't have to sit in front of you.
Tell me about it.
And remember, this isn't counseling.
Yeah, right,
This is academic coaching.
This is academic coaching, not counseling.
That's right.
I think that's very important, because some kids are shy, and they whatever their weakness is, they don't want to expose it to everyone. But this way, in the privacy of the cell phone, and any corrections or information they need, it's right here. Boom.
And I tell you what, Mr. Brown, the way we do our enrichment courses, we do our enrichment courses the same way. We have a teleclass. And so you'll be a part of a class, there might be 100 people on the call.
Right.
But we're going through, and so you might be in a teleclass. The next one we're going to run is called Sometimes You Win, Sometimes You Win, Sometimes You Learn, for teens. And that's going to be a 6-week teleclass, and we'll do an hour once a week. We go over some key points for the 6 weeks. And what's really nice about it is that, you know, in a classroom, there is that pressure.
Hey,
and you might not want to ask your question because you don't know how you're going to be received. But if you can be anonymous, and you just hit on your pad *6, and we'll say you live on the line, please state your name, but you don't have to. You can remain anonymous. But what's your question for the teacher? And that kid can ask that question, or the kid might say, well, you know, you're teaching on the issue of pride. Well, I've been wrestling with pride. And they might go on and explain whatever it is they want to say. And they say, well, how do you handle whatever that situation is? And then whoever's teaching that class, if I'm teaching or if one of my colleagues is teaching the class, they're going to answer that kid's question. And so we're using a different modality to reach the kids where they're safe, they're in the comfort of wherever they want to be. At home, they could be in the car ride with their parent, but wherever they are. And so the kids who utilize our services, and they take one of these courses. And so once again, we look at what are some of the things that limit kids, right? We talk about the gap. One of the things I look, coming from Montgomery County, is I look around, and even within Montgomery County, there are those in Montgomery County who have access to quality information that will help them advance, and those who do not. And I said, well, look, what can I do to change the game? And I look at some of the companies, one of the companies that I compete against. Now their fees are much higher, 4 times higher than my fees, but you're paying for the brick and mortar over in Friendship Heights, McLean, and Bethesda, Maryland. And so I said, well, how can I make my services accessible to others?
That was my question.
Yeah.
Your service accessible, available. And And the idea of is giving them information so they can themselves design a program that they want or that they feel that they need.
And that's it. And we empower. Our motto is to empower the next generation to be tomorrow's global leaders.
Right.
And we're going to change the game.
Mm-hmm.
We're
Yes.
changing the game because if you think about this, for far too long, there's been one dominant group that's been in leadership roles, who've opened up businesses, their kids open up businesses, and it's those who've had the wealth to purchase access to information that helps their children get ahead.
That's it. That's it. If you're not in the environment, it's very tough to get involved.
That's right.
Because first of all, you don't know the rules. you have, in the financial game, you have to know the rules.
That's right.
And you just can't get out, get a book, and find it. You got to know how to approach people. It's so many different things.
The innuendo.
Right. That actually you can't get, through a book.
Right. Because you can read the book.
Yeah, right.
But if you don't know the questions to ask yourself while you're reading the book.
While you read the book, or what you don't understand. And where you are close to the instructor, like sitting in a chair here. And
That's
you don't
right.
have to feel left out or stupid or whatever. Say, I don't want to ask. How many times a kid sits in there and the teacher spends an hour and a half trying to get the quantum theory over to him, and he leaves there and he wanted to ask the question, but Susie May and John Jones and somebody over here will laugh at him. Or either that he didn't embarrass him because of the fact that, he should know that. You know what I mean? Kids don't have to do that now.
No, because you know what we do is that we're going to build them up. We're going to empower them. And so some of the things we focus in our coaching sessions, one of the things we start off with is working with them to have effective study skills that produce academic excellence.
Okay. Well, see, that's what we are talking about, and these young people that you all are mentoring and everything. This is what a program like yours is really, really needed because it's very personal and it gives the youngsters an opportunity to be involved, not sit there for an hour, a half an hour and listen to somebody lecture. If they have a question, hey, they push the right button and then they get the answer.
That's right.
And that's the most important thing. I think the program you have is excellent. And just tell us in a few minutes just how a person get involved. Your email.
Real simple. Tell you what, better than that is a website. Go to academicmanagementgroup.com.
Okay, Ed Reed, that's the man. I mean, he has a terrific program here. And the other thing I want to talk about is voting. A lot of things are coming over TV, but you have to vote. That's another thing. The youngsters have to get involved in the political system because the political system is run by the financial system, and you got to have both. Okay, this has been Ed Brown. Don't forget to vote.